All right, welcome back to the Neutral Zone. Week 5, week 6, episode 39 of our live series. Obviously, a lot to unpack after this
Man,
week's games. Week 6, not week 5. A
yeah,
lot to unpack from the games. I don't think this was really circled as a big week in college football. I think it's going to end up being the deciding factor for a lot of these teams as far as playoff chances goes, especially the major upsets. But this is what college football is about. So, kind of just to get right into it, Dad. I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this, but what is your biggest takeaway from Week 6?
man, chaos. And I think we're going to see chaos throughout the rest of the year. I think you're going to see playoff teams. And I'm going to be honest, I thought it may be one, but we may be at 2-3 playoff teams with 3 losses. As you kind of look at the landscape of college football, you look at the SEC, I think the only team in the SEC that's really viable that doesn't have a loss is Texas. You look in the Big Ten. I'm going to remove Indiana. No disrespect to Indiana, but you're talking about Penn State, Oregon, and Ohio State in some capacity. Hey, what up, Trill? Hey, what up, Tweety? In some capacity, all 3 of those teams play each other. You look at the Big 12; it's a big mess. You look at the ACC, where you got Miami, who's now played 2 games that had to come down to the wire to win, and then you got a surging Clemson team. I would not be shocked if there are only 1 or 2 undefeated teams and a bunch of 1-loss, 2-loss, 3-loss teams in the playoffs. This year has been straight chaos, but I love it. I love it as we go into this 12-team playoffs. I think you're still going to have a bunch of questions, and I'm going to say kind of 8 through 11. I think 12 obviously goes group of 5, but 8 through 11, I think you're still going to have a bunch of questions, even as we kind of talked about this yesterday. There's a lot to work out. What is the committee really going to value? Are they going to value overall record? Are they going to value a team going to a conference championship that maybe has a worse record? Are they going to value best win, worst loss? I think this is going to be even more chaos than the old BCS or the 14 playoffs. What's your takeaway from this weekend?
So my takeaway from this weekend is not really a takeaway, but it's more so of a I was right kind of thing, and it's about the SEC.
Okay. Yeah.
Now I didn't expect Alabama to lose yesterday, so I'm not going to say, I predicted that. I didn't predict Tennessee to lose to Arkansas. I didn't predict Missouri to lose to A&M.
No.
But what I did predict at the beginning of the year is that there will be no undefeated SEC teams, and we are getting to a point where, and that this could be a hot take, but we are getting to a point where there may not be any 1-loss SEC teams. Because
that's a point. That's a fact.
Right now, your best odds for that is Texas, because everyone else has a loss and everyone else has to play each other. Now, I'm not saying that means the SEC is out. I still think the SEC gets a minimum of 4 teams in. I still think they're going to get the most teams. They're the toughest. But when you have teams like Alabama and Tennessee who lose to a bottom half caliber team in the SEC, what does that do for a team like Alabama that still has to play Tennessee, Georgia? Not Georgia. Tennessee, Ole Miss. I think they play LSU
Auburn.
still. Auburn. So there's still some really good opponents that Alabama has to play. Same thing as LSU. LSU plays some tough teams. Oklahoma plays some tough teams. A&M plays some tough teams.
So just quickly, Alabama, South Carolina, Tennessee, Missouri, LSU, Oklahoma, Auburn are the name teams. They also got a Mercer in there in the middle.
Yeah, so all these teams still play each other. So I don't think, like, yesterday's takeaway for me is that was the worst case that could have happened for the SEC.
Yeah.
Because all of these different teams that lost to teams that are not in the conversation have officially made it to where there is that much more less room for error. Like, I think Missouri and Tennessee, more so Tennessee, is not really in a bad spot because they only really played 2 of the tough opponents. But Alabama has a hell of a schedule left. A&M has a hell of a schedule. Oklahoma has a hell of a schedule. LSU, all these teams still have to play each other. Yep. So eventually you're going to see some of these teams with 2, 3, and maybe even 4 losses. So I think that's my biggest takeaway is this year, I don't know if there is a head and shoulders team in the SEC. I know we saw Alabama for a while.
I mean, so
We
you're
saw
not giving
Georgia
that
for a
to
while.
Texas?
Well, it's hard because I think Georgia can beat Texas. I picked Texas to win, but I mean, based on what I've seen this year, if I look at Texas's schedule right now, they could lose this week to Oklahoma. Like
Yeah.
that's a rivalry. They could lose Oklahoma, and I don't think it would be the end of the world. And you go to Oklahoma this week, then you host Georgia next week. Now, I think if you get out of both of those games unscathed, you're fine. But could they lose both of those games? Yes. They very well could lose both those games.
Agreed.
And now we're looking back at now Georgia is the number one team in the SEC because they've knocked them off. So it's just like it's a domino effect at the end of the day.
This is going to be crazy.
I mean, I'm interested to see not so much how it obviously everybody wants to see how it's going to end up, but I want to see how the first rankings go for the committee. I want to see what they value because I had a talk with Guinea Pig Clips in the Discord today. I mean, he was upset that Clemson was number 10 and Notre Dame was behind, and he said that Clemson doesn't have any wins, and Notre Dame has the win against Louisville this past week and the win over A&M. But I was explaining, like, does the committee value the wins or does the committee value the fact that you lost against NIU at home? So it just depends. I don't really know how it's going to look when the time comes. I think the first rankings are in like 3 weeks. I want to say it's like week 10. But Miami, we talked about Miami. I don't think this team is as good as everybody's making them out to be. I understand that they got the job done, but it's not you can't play comeback football forever. Eventually, you're going to get
and that definitely is one of my takeaways. I said last week, I give Miami the benefit of the doubt. I think every team has a bad game. I think this Miami team is not going to survive. And the bad part, though, is they may, and I say that because they don't have a really rough schedule. Now, you know, when you're closing games to Cal, when you're closing games to Virginia Tech, that makes me think that maybe an LSU, maybe a Florida State, maybe a Duke can knock you off. But Miami will probably go into those games the favorite. They are finding ways, and kudos to Cam Ward and that team, but this is not a good team. I don't think this is a team that's going to be highly viewed by the committee. One, because I don't think they're going to have any sensational wins, especially when you think their biggest out-of-conference game was Florida, who's probably going to be a 5-6 win team. They don't play Clemson this year. We see what's happening with LSU and Florida State this year. I said LSU, I'm sorry. With Louisville, who's now lost 2 games in a row, and Florida State this year, they're not going to have a marquee win, and they're going to possibly, even if they do run the table, have a bunch of close losses. Now, obviously, if this doesn't matter if they win the ACC, you know, they're going to get one of those top 4 seats. But if they were to drop a game to a Clemson, and you're talking about a bunch of one-loss teams, I think they get in, but I think they're going to be ranked in the back of the pack. You know, I could see them being an 8, 9, 10 instead of, you know, what would normally be probably a 5, 6.
Yeah, just because so last year Florida State is what Miami is. I agree. I mean, I think Florida State got out of the Boston College game by the skin of their teeth last year. The game, obviously, Jordan Travis went down. I think it was to North Alabama. It was some small team. They got out of that one. And then obviously the Louisville game at the end of the season. And then the Florida game. But I just think when you look at this team, I understand. And I also want to make sure I point this out. They can only play who's on their schedule. So it's hard. You can't continuously knock someone if they're winning. But I think also it's the way you look. I think you're frozen, by the way. I'm just letting you know. So I'm gonna keep talking.
Yeah.
But it's the way you look in the game. So if they were playing these teams and just absolutely thrashing everyone every week, I wouldn't say, well, I mean, because a lot of people, what they'll do, let me get rid of this since he'll probably come back in a second. A lot of people, what they'll do is say, well, you haven't played anybody. But I mean, in my opinion, like I said, if you're only playing those teams and you're winning by a good, healthy margin, then you're still looking good. At the end of the day, you start executing. But if you look at their schedule, their best win right now is Cal, and they were down 25 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
A lot of people are going to talk about that targeting call. I thought it was targeting. A lot of people are going to talk about that. At the end of the day, they won. Then the prior week, the Hail Mary. I thought it was a Hail Mary that converted. So, again, at the end of the day, that's not what happened. But I think it still leaves a stain when you're 17-point favorites, when you're a 14-point favorite, and it's coming down to that final play at home against a Virginia Tech. So we'll just have to see. At the end of the day, if they win the conference, it doesn't really matter. I think they have a tough test this week against Louisville. And I still think a lot of people are not giving a lot of credit to Florida State. I understand it's a bad team.
Wait, what do you mean not giving credit to Florida State? What credit?
Like it's almost like they're not giving them a puncher's chance. Like,
oh, yeah.
Like Florida State has a puncher's chance against Miami. Like based on what I've seen out of Florida State is a more talented team than Virginia Tech and Cal. And I understand that this is not a very good team on, in the win and loss column. I understand that. But I still think they have a chance to beat Miami. I mean, I don't like, to me, if Florida State were to beat Miami, I wouldn't look at it like it's the upset of the year.
Yeah,
because Miami has damn near lost 2 or 3 times this season. So to me, it wouldn't be crazy. Like I wouldn't anticipate the world, like it wouldn't happen like the Vandy situation. Like it's not, to me, it wouldn't be upset of the year. That's the way I see it.
I think the only reason you would call it that is because
the record
of how Florida State has looked this year. But like you said, Miami has played down to some teams that, and really, just like you mentioned, they should have lost both of those games. That Virginia Tech game to come down to a play, and even you mentioned it, and again, I don't want to go back and recreate history. Overturning that call, that play, that could have went either way.
Yeah.
That I'll leave it at that. And then they should have lost the Cal. Now they found a way, and again, you talked about the targeting, and they found a way, and kudos to them, but they should have lost that game. They can't continue to keep playing like this. And Florida State, when you look at that team, and again, yes, a team built in the portal, and I don't want to go into the whole portal conversation, but
let's not do that.
This is still a very talented team. They have guys that are 4- and 5-star guys. Now, again, yes, they've had some chemistry issues. They've had some quarterback play issues. They've had some offensive and defensive line issues. But this is still a very talented team. I didn't know what you was doing. That threw me off.
Sorry. Yeah. So this is the AP poll for this week. Obviously, a lot of shakeup. A lot of the what's up, Clint? A lot of the top teams lost. What is your biggest, pop out here? What stands out the most to you in this top 25?
So I seen this. One, I think Alabama should have went way further down.
I agree.
I don't know how you have them ahead of teams. And let me. I'm going to do this for you. How do you justify their loss to Vandy over Clemson's loss to Georgia at a neutral site? I don't know how you say they're only down to 7. They should have probably been in the teens. I'm going to give you my own heartache, and it's not with the seeding, but my heartache is, how is Ohio State only getting 8 top first place votes? Now, I guess you say they haven't beat anybody. If they have a good game this weekend against Oregon, that probably changes. I don't know how a 2-loss Michigan is still ranked. I think that's disrespectful to some other teams. And I will say, I'm going to be honest with you. I think you could take a team like Colorado, and I think they might beat Michigan. So as I kind of look, those are my quick. You kept a bunch of SEC teams kind of high. Like I think that there's a bunch, when you just look at this, a bunch of 1-loss teams in the top 25. You start at 5 and basically work your way down, really, except for BYU. It's a bunch of 1-loss teams.
Yeah.
What were your takeaways?
My biggest takeaway from this is, why the hell is Tennessee at number 8? That's my biggest takeaway. I'm not mad at Alabama being higher than Clemson because they have the best win of anybody on this list.
Okay.
So they beat Georgia. So I get it. And it's hard because they have the same record as Georgia. So then why is Georgia not behind Alabama?
Hold on. But they also have one of, if not the worst losses out of all of these teams. And that's where I think Vandy is worse than Kentucky, who Ole Miss lost to. I think obviously they're worse than Georgia. I think, you know what I'm saying? As we kind of played that out, I think Vandy, especially historically, this is a team you've lost to, I think, once or twice in 60 years. They have one of the worst losses out of any of these teams in the top 25.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I think the only thing holding them up is that Georgia win. Who has Ole Miss beat? Let me look up their schedule. 1 second.
Well, so their loss was to a very good Kentucky team, and I'm going to say very good. Remember, that's the team that Georgia beat by 1 point last minute or fourth quarter drive. And I'm not excusing that. I think Ole Miss will even tell you they should have won that game. Now, even if they don't have a marquee win, the good part about the SEC is a lot of this stuff is going to wash itself out because Ole Miss still plays. All of these teams still play each other. So I think at the end, the cream is going to rise and the teams that aren't that good are going to sink back. I feel a very serious SEC bias here.
But I will say also, to answer Will's point as far as Ole Miss, they don't have a great resume. But like I was saying about Miami, they've beat everybody that they've put in front of them up until the Kentucky game convincingly. Like it wasn't close. They're winning by 50 points every week, and they already started at number 6. So, I mean, losing obviously to Kentucky dropped them back to number 12, and they just beat South Carolina. So the only reason they moved up the 3 spots is because everybody in front of them lost. So that's the only reason why they moved. LSU had lost, Michigan lost, and USC lost. That's why they moved up the spots. I don't think it's because of what they did against South Carolina. And I feel the same way about Clemson. I don't think Clemson moved up the 5 spots based on what they did against Florida State. I think it's just because a bunch of people in front of them lost. So it obviously worked out in their favor, but I think that's what ended up happening. But to go back to Tennessee is at number 8, and they lost to an unranked Arkansas team. I don't understand how you only move back 4 spots. You have the same record as Ole Miss, and in my opinion,
Ole Miss lost to a better team.
And you have the same record as Clemson, and Clemson lost to a better team. So to me, Tennessee being at 8 is clear SEC bias because I don't understand how you even put them there. It doesn't make any like I can say why I think Alabama's at 7 because they have the win over Georgia. Even Ole Miss, I think Ole Miss being at 9 is fine because they were already at 12. People in front of them moved up. But I think Tennessee should be at 10 or 11 right now. And I understand Clemson lost to Georgia by 30. I get all of that. But at the end of the day, Tennessee has the same record as Clemson and a worse loss. And they have a common opponent in NC State. So, I mean, what other big win does Tennessee really have?
Yeah, and I'm going to say I agree with Will. I think Iowa State should be ranked a little bit higher. But again, this is where I think some of these other conferences, and again, obviously this is not the committee, but if the committee's up the same thinking, listen, I've been the guy saying I think the SEC gets 5 teams in. Not that I think they deserve 5 teams, but I think the committee is going to value their wins more than some of these other teams, as you're seeing with an undefeated Iowa State, who does have some pretty decent wins. They beat an Iowa team. They beat Arkansas State. They beat Baylor. They beat Houston. Again, I'm not saying those are world beaters, but those are teams that you got to show up and play. They don't have a loss. So I think Iowa State has a claim, and I think the Big 12 as a whole has a claim to say Iowa State and BYU are in the teens. First of all, did you notice that Iowa State and Notre Dame are both 11?
They're tied at 11. That's why they had the exact same amount of votes.
But I think there's claim to say Iowa State and BYU being in the teens is disrespectful. When you look at a group of teams from 6 through 10, and I will add Clemson in 6 through 10 that have all lost the game. How are we? And again, Iowa State has some decent wins. How are we behind Ole Miss, Tennessee, Alabama, who has a really bad loss? How are we behind those teams? Now, again, if you just look at it, if you ask me, do I think Iowa State would beat Alabama, Tennessee, Ole Miss, or Clemson? I would say no. But I would say that right now, they deserve to be ranked ahead of those teams.
So Leo DeGucci says, I think the rules we've been used to have been completely thrown out the window with the merging of conferences. As long as you remain undefeated, it doesn't really matter. So I agree because when you win your conference, it is hard, but we also have to remember only 4 teams can get the automatic spot.
Right.
So Now, not these rankings because this is the AP poll, but when the college football playoff rankings come out, those rankings matter because at the end of the day, only one team per conference gets the automatic spot. So Iowa State, let's be real here.
Well, let me flip this though. Let me flip this because if we say Iowa State hasn't beat anybody big, cool. BYU has beat number 25 SMU and number 18 Kansas State, and they beat Kansas State by dang near 30. Why are they 14? So they beat two teams that are on this poll that are ranked. I don't know that another team has beat two teams on this poll, two other ranked teams on this week's poll. I don't think that, and they're undefeated. So how have I beat two teams that you are ranking this week, and I have lost no games, and I'm 14 behind teams that have no top 25 wins based off of this week's poll?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a firm the Steelers game is pouring right now. What's up, Rodson?
Yeah, I seen it was delayed.
Yeah, he's at the game right now, I'm pretty sure.
Oh shit. But you better take cover.
Rest take cover like we in war. This man said fire in the hole.
Wow.
We saw those SEC teams lose to teams worse than Iowa State and BYU. I agree.
And I agree with that. Yeah.
Vanderbilt, Arkansas.
So you couldn't tell me that now again, I would pick Alabama, Tennessee, Ole Miss, Clemson over Iowa State and BYU. But if you told me that Iowa State and BYU beat one of those teams, I wouldn't again, much like we said with Miami and Florida State, I wouldn't think this is the shock of I wouldn't think this is the shock of the century. I don't think this would be something crazy.
But see, this is my problem though. This is my problem. The reason why I don't like to get too much into the AP polls because it's okay, is the AP poll ranking teams based on who we think would win the match, or is it ranking teams based on the resume?
And that's
because let's be honest here. Why is Michigan still ranked? That's wild to me.
I agree.
We talked about that as well. But okay, so Iowa State is on this list. I'm not even going to count BYU, but I would say every other team in the top 15 I would favor over Iowa State. Now, I'm not saying they don't deserve to be there, but they deserve their resume. Their resume shows they should be there. Same thing with BYU, but it's almost Clemson should be at 10. They haven't beat anybody, but we just think they're a better team than BYU. What's the point of playing then? What's the point of having a record?
Right, and so this is where this gets
What's going
really
on, man? What's going
weird,
on?
right? So we're talking as we talk about this, and I bring back up the old conversation. The hard part is some of these teams, just based off of Ross game, I'm gonna tell you, obviously, I believe the same. Some of these teams, name notoriety is going to carry. Name notoriety is going to carry the day. Alabama is going to, even if they lost another game, their name is going to carry them. That's why they're 7. They're not 7 based off of. And let me remove Alabama because obviously they beat Georgia. Tennessee and Ole Miss are 8 and 9 because they're Tennessee and Ole Miss. If they were Vanderbilt, if they were some other team without as much notoriety or name recognition, they would not be in the top 10, right? Hence why a BYU, who has much better wins than both of those teams and no losses, is ranked behind them because it's name notoriety. They're in the SEC. That's what's carrying the day for those teams, and that's what's hurting. And that's what's hurting Big 12 teams. And I can see the problem being that I think there is so much weight being given to the SEC. And I think the Big 10 is going to kind of, not to the same level, but get that as well, that the Big 12 and the ACC are going to have a hard time getting at-large bids. Because, bless you. Bless you again. All right.
Appreciate it, man.
But because I think that if the committee is anything like the AP poll, and remember, we seen the same thing last year with Florida State not getting into the top 4. I think they're not going to be valued the same way as the SEC. So that means that if Iowa State does lose 2 games, they may, and again, I know we talked about this, but they may not get in behind a 3-loss SEC team. I can see that happening. I can see the committee saying we value a team with 3 losses in the SEC more than a team with 2 losses in the Big 12 or the ACC.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only way, and we talked about this obviously off camera, the only way that doesn't happen is if Miami or Clemson, their second loss is in the ACC title game.
Yeah,
and I think they would get in over a 3-loss SEC team. But obviously, we have a lot of football left to be played.
Yeah,
and again, I was talking in the Discord as well. It's very hard to put a lot of stock into the AP because this AP poll has Penn State at 4. If the rankings came out today, they might have Penn State at 9. Like,
right.
It's so off. 3-loss Tennessee would be close. It's hard because I think if they had 3 losses, they don't have any key wins because they only have 2 tough games left. I think it's like Alabama and it might be Missouri or something, but that would mean they lost all of their ranked games. So I don't think they would have any marquee wins to even have an argument. But I also don't think they're going to be a 9-3 team. So, but let me look at the.
Wait a minute. So you think they're going to be worse than 9-3?
No, I think 9-3 is like their floor, but I don't think that's going to happen.
I think right now 9-3 is very likely.
So, well, they play. Like I said, they have 2 tough teams left.
Yeah,
4-1. Alabama and Georgia. Obviously, Kentucky's still a tough game, but
I think they're losing both of those. That defense is playing great. That offense has spurts.
So Bama says they play Alabama and Georgia. I think they lose both. Yeah, I think they go.
What up, Harlow? I'm still pissed. Harlow beat me in college football today, man. I'm motherfucker. But go win.
Yeah, but so you said they just lost to Arkansas. I could do that about any team, though. Like, I could say Notre Dame lost to NIU, so they can lose to USC.
But
I just don't think that's a fair assessment.
That's where I say I think there is a lot of.
Now we're getting crazy.
Well, let me say this. That Vandy team.
Relax.
Hold on. I'm not saying this is a top.
Come on, bro.
That team looked legit. That was not a fluke. That was not hey, I ran a trick play and we caught you slipping.
Okay, you guys could lose to Stanford, or you guys could lose to any other team that's on your schedule that you shouldn't lose to, is what I'm saying.
But that's where I'm saying there is a bunch of parity. There's a lot of parity. I think if I look, and I'm going to show a little bias, but the only team I think that is played dominant is Ohio State.
You don't think Texas has?
I don't think they play dominant because the thing they're going to get credit for is that win at Michigan. I think Michigan is not a good team. Now, let me say this. I think they have an opportunity.
But they've looked good in every other game, though.
To me, as an Ohio State fan, and I'm going to say this as an Ohio State fan, I think we have a better team than Texas. But again, that's my view.
I mean, that's not a hot take, though. That's fair.
But that's my view. Like when we played Michigan last year, I was like, shit, they could really get us, right? I don't think this Texas team, and again, it's early.
That's kind of crazy.
But
that's kind of crazy.
I'm not like super concerned about that. I was concerned about Alabama, especially, but I think every team has kind of had a little bit of the mystique knocked off of them. I watched that Mississippi State game again. Yes, that's with Arch, but without Quinn. Yes, it was a 35-13 win, which is a quality win against the SEC team. I don't knock it. I think there's still some things I need to see. The offensive line is dominant. That's kind of scary. I think they're deserving of the number 1 rank. I'm cool with them being number 1. I'm not super concerned about if we had to play them. I wouldn't be like, oh shit, we might lose this. I'd feel pretty confident going into that game.
So that would mean you feel confident about anybody you play.
Yeah, that's generally what I'm saying. There's no team this year that I'm like, ooh, shit. There were some teams early, but all of those teams have kind of fall into the wayside. I think now you're probably talking about 3 teams in which that I would say there's some level of concern. Oregon, which obviously we play this weekend, because I think they could still get hot. I know they haven't looked great.
Wait. Do you just mean on your schedule?
No, I mean in college football, period. This may be a real.
You're telling me you fear Oregon more than a team like Texas?
No, Texas is the other team. So Texas, Oregon are the two teams that I'm kind of like, okay, I feel like those are the only two teams that I think could beat it. I think Georgia's offense is garbage. I think that offense is garbage. I think they have a very good defense, but I think that offense is garbage.
And what about Alabama?
So Alabama, the wild card is Jalen Milner, but that defense, Vandy moved up and down the field on them. And like I said, this was not trick plays. This was not, they were literally moving up and down the field on them.
I'm not gonna lie. That is a hot take.
You think that's
is like fresh off the stove? I
think the national champion will be Texas, Ohio State, or Oregon. I don't think that's a.
You think one of those three is winning the Natty?
I think one of those three teams will win it all.
What about Penn State?
Penn State is beat up on, but they look very, very pedestrian, especially on offense. Obviously, they have two very good running backs. I don't fear Penn State though.
I mean, I'm not mad at that. I'm more like baffled at the
three teams that I've seen so far that I'm like, now again.
Wait. I want to say this. Oregon was my Big Ten winner at the beginning of the year. They have looked terrible.
Yeah, so they've looked, but you've seen little spurts where you were like, okay. Like, I'll tell you.
Well, you've seen spurts from every team.
But they've also continued to win. The thing with them, like, if you look at the game this weekend, through two interceptions, but literally against Michigan State, now
this is false to a point because Texas won on the road at Michigan. But I will say that is a valid point. Oregon hasn't played anybody.
Oregon played Boise State, who's 17. Do you think Boise State's not good?
I'm not saying I don't think they're good, but we're saying Georgia offense looked terrible when they've played a very, very good schedule.
And I'm not okay. So this is the thing. When I look at the Michigan State game, Oregon should have won that game 50-0. Right? And I'm going to say it the same way. Obviously, Ohio State fan, I watched the Iowa game.
No way about what, Brandon?
I watched the Iowa game. We go into the halftime 7-0. I knew that game should have been 28-0. I have no concern. The same way when I watched the Oregon-Michigan State game, and that game, the score was much closer than that game ever was.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's very hard to say.
Now, does it mean that Alabama or Georgia can't get hot? Yeah, of course. I think the Jalen Milroe is probably one of the most dynamic players in college football. That Georgia defense is probably one of the best defenses in college football. But I think they have major questions.
I just think for me. To me, Oregon is not even a contender at this point. I have to see how they look this week. No, because they haven't played anybody.
We'll see this weekend.
Against the first 2 weeks, they've looked really bad. And then obviously the Boise State, we don't know how good Boise State actually is. I understand.
I think Boise State is pretty good.
Genty is my Heisman leader right now. I understand that they're a good team. But Boise State is not Alabama. Boise State is, I don't think they're as good as Michigan. There's a lot of other teams.
I think Boise State would beat Michigan.
Genty is not running the ball like that on Michigan, and I'm not a Michigan fan.
It's a little. Would it be harder? Yes. Michigan cannot throw the ball. They cannot throw the ball.
But Boise State's entire defense are all 2 and 3 stars. like I think Alec Orji is going to be able to do something against that defense.
No, I don't know. I don't think so.
And I'm not mad at this statement. Like, I agree. I think Ohio State could beat Georgia.
To me, and again, maybe this is bias. I'm trying to be neutral, but maybe
you are not being neutral right now.
But the only team that I'm like, they like. I think let me put Texas in there because Texas against Michigan looked dominant. I think if Michigan hadn't fallen off.
Well, y'all let Edgar drop 45.
If Michigan, if Michigan wasn't this year's team and was last year's team, I think that'd be more impressive. As I watched the game, I was like, "Yo, Texas is dominating it." The thing that takes some of it from it for me is now I'm looking and I'm like, "Yeah, Michigan's not good."
Michael Campbell. What's going on, man?
What up, Big Mike? I ain't see Mike on the live in a minute. What up, Mike?
Before we keep talking about this, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Like the video, share it to a friend. We go live twice a week, previewing and recapping. We actually are going to the Ohio State Oregon game this next week.
Man, so excited.
So my dad's flying out on Thursday, and we're gonna go. Game day is there; just got announced, so we're gonna get up early at 6 a.m.
Bro, first of all, we got to talk about price gouging. Okay, does anybody live near Eugene? Man, I'm looking at hotels.
Crazy. We can stay with the Grand Mauler.
Who? Who? What are you laughing at?
Brandon's about to lose it in the chat. Dane, Duck fan Dane, my boy Duck fan Dane.
Where Dane at?
We might stay at his crib.
I saw a hotel at La Quinta that Monday through Thursday is like $89. Friday and Saturday, $645. I'm not paying $645 to stay at the damn La Quinta. I'm not. That is fucking ridiculous. $645 for the La Quinta? That's $80 during the week. That's crazy. That's nasty work.
We'll have to figure it out because we're definitely going to go to the game day.
We got to be a game day. This is big. Like I am so super excited about this. I'm definitely going to check Airbnb. I'm going to get jerked and shaken. What the fuck is going on?
It's so. I'll tell you off air. Actually, I'm not gonna tell you it on air.
Okay, yeah. But no, we got to figure something out. Because obviously, if you guys don't know, so West Coast, and I'm an East Coast guy. West Coast game day, I think, is from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. and the game is until 4 p.m. Steven has to work, so we'll probably either get there late, set Friday night or early Saturday morning. So we're just trying to find some place to kind of kick it. Especially in between when game day leaves at 9 a.m. and the game starts at 4 p.m. That's a long period of time, especially if we got to get up early and drive or drive really late. We're probably going to need a nap. Steven knows if I don't get my sleep during the game. No, I'm probably going to be so excited.
Y'all know what's crazy? We've probably been to.
Bruh, do not get on here lying.
20 games, at least 20 games together.
Yeah, we had season tickets for, and that was
as I can remember, like 20 games since I've been like 12.
Okay.
This dude falls asleep at every sporting event.
That is a lie.
The only sporting event he didn't fall asleep at was the Clemson Notre Dame game last year because we were in row 1 and the game came down to the final play. Every time we go to a game, every time.
Unless this game gets out of hand, there's literally no way I'd fall asleep during this game. Literally no way. To see Ohio State? Nah, no way. Unless it's like a 40-point blowout.
In Oregon's way or Ohio State's way?
Either way. But I think because I also I'll watch a full Ohio State game. And part of it is because I also keep up with Ohio State recruiting. So Peoples and Sayin and a bunch of the second and third string wide receivers, running backs. I want to see them play, obviously, as they get ready to take positions as the career goes along.
So I have a question. Hopefully Brandon's still in here. Let me make sure he's still in here before I ask it. Because I know he wants to know this answer.
Okay. What are you doing?
What are you gonna do? Brandon knows the question I'm gonna ask, and I think I asked you this off air, but I want you to answer him so he can know.
Okay.
What are you gonna do in situations where, he'll stay the whole game. I don't think we'll leave.
Oh no, I don't.
We didn't spend that much money to leave.
Yeah, this was I think $700 a ticket. Oh, I'm glad you said that.
Hold on, let me ask my question.
Okay, all right, we're coming back to that. Yes.
Huh? No, hell, I'm not. No, you better relax because I won't wear that sweater I bought. I swear I won't. So, well, speaking of that, so I bought us. So we went to the Clemson Notre Dame game last year. My dad wore Clemson gear for the game. We were obviously at Clemson, so he fit in with the hostile, the rabid Death Valley fans. We're going to Eugene. We're going to Eugene, and so since he wore Clemson gear last year, I bought myself an Ohio State sweater, so I'm going to wear one. Brandon's question to you is: what are you going to do when it's like third down and it's Oregon's ball and everybody's quiet? Are you going to be on your feet like making noise, or are you just going to be quiet? Because it's going to be quiet.
Let me say this: we're on the Ohio State side. I assume there's going to be, and I'm not going to say a lot, but oh man, we paid a lot.
Way cheaper now. I looked earlier.
I wonder why. It's going to be 2 versus 3, but I assume there's going to be a bunch of Ohio State fans around. Again, maybe not, but I think it'll be a decent amount.
So let's say let
me, Mike. I see your question, or that's my concern. I think Will Howard has had a very clean pocket, and has thrown 3 interceptions. If Oregon can get pressure, I do have a little concern. The thing, though, I like about Will is he does have some escapability in the pocket. He can extend plays, but he has already made bonehead throws. But I can also say the same thing about Dylan Gabriel so far this season. I think literally Will Howard has less interceptions than Dylan Gabriel.
I ain't no way I would wear gear. Not my. Well, so you got to understand. Okay. I'm a big time college football fan. And at the end of the day, it's kind of like he did it for Clemson. So I'm obviously going to.
Steven was raised an Ohio State fan. If you guys haven't heard this story.
Okay, wait. Are you really going to sit here and lie?
Were you not an Ohio State fan until about so Steven became a Clemson fan because we knew Taj Boyd when he was going through his recruitment. Okay. Taj Boyd went to Clemson and he became a Clemson fan. Before that, he was an Ohio State fan. No, let me go. Immediately before that, he was a Florida fan because we knew Percy Harvin.
Okay, but you can't say
he was an Ohio State fan.
And who was I before that?
Oh, I don't know you before that.
Because Ohio State was not my first squad growing up. Now,
what was your first squad?
Reggie Bush and the Trojans.
Oh, okay.
Don't say that. Okay. Ohio State just had a little year and a half stint. That's all it was. That's all it was. It was a big Reggie Bush 2-year deal.
Yeah. You were a big Reggie Bush guy.
It's hard to be a bandwagon at the age of 7.
Yeah, we're talking. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, we were talking very young. So at that time, I think he was much more into players. So we just happened to really kind of be in the right place at some pretty cool times. We were in California.
Now you got them questioning my fandom, man.
Well, again, he was 8, 9, 10. We were in San Diego. Literally, Steven went to an elementary school that was right across the street, I think, from Helix High School. Yeah. And Helix High School is the high school that Reggie Bush went to. Then we moved to Virginia. And then I think we were in Virginia, maybe Percy Harvin's senior season.
Nah, that was his.
Or was was his freshman season?
That was his freshman, sophomore, and junior because he got drafted in 2007.
Okay, I didn't know if he was still at Lansdowne. But
no, because Taj was at Phoebus.
Yeah, so he played football. He played football in an organization. It was the same Pop Warner organization that Percy Harvin played in, that Taj played in, Taj Boyd played in. So with that, he got to know them. Met them when he was real young. Really met Taj. Taj is maybe junior, senior year. So we actually kind of. I don't want to hype it up like we were advisors, but we kind of got to see his recruitment. If you guys don't know the story of Taj, he initially was committed to West Virginia, decommitted at a point in time. was actually thinking about going to Ohio State, ended up going to Clemson. Steven knew him, so he became a Clemson fan, and he's been a Clemson fan ever since. I give him credit for that ever since Taj went there.
You know, it's crazy. I lost my train of thought, bro. What was I gonna say? Oh, I wouldn't really consider. I gotta sneeze again, bro. Hold on. I wouldn't really consider myself a fan of a team until I was a Clemson fan. Because now that I think about it, I really didn't care about nothing but players. Like
that's what I said. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because even Ohio State, you were.
It was just Terrell Pryor. Yeah, Ted Ginn and Terrell Pryor. Really.
Yeah.
I mean, and I guess Troy Smith too. But like outside of that, and
so you were an Ohio State fan. You were an Ohio State fan, and then you did us dirty.
How was I an Ohio State fan when I was rooting against them in the Natty?
You were rude because at that point in time, that Percy was there, right?
All right, then. So how could I have? How could I have been a fan?
Were you rooting against them?
See, here now he's trying to rewrite history, bro.
How did you do that? I know you want to sit next to me.
He said.
Oh, you were Washington State fan too?
I'm not no damn Washington State fan.
No, but he's been. So what? That had to be. Taj went to Clemson. What are you about? Maybe 10?
No,
12?
Taj graduated when I was like 17 or 16. He's only 5 years older than me.
Oh, yeah, that's what. So you were 13?
Yeah, when he went to Clemson.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Okay, so he's been a Clemson fan since 13.
For 15 years.
So, and I also give him because at that point in time, Clemson wasn't a big name.
We were awful. We were
a middle of the road team.
The first ever game I watched as a Clemson fan, we lost by 50.
Oh shit, I didn't know that.
To West Virginia in the bowl game.
But yeah, so I give him credit. He got on before it became fashionable to be a Clemson fan.
That's crazy. But anyways, no. I'm just saying it's crazy. Like that's even a conversation. But who is your top 3 Heisman leaders right now before we head out of here?
It's
hard like a lot of people got out of the race now.
Because I'm gonna go 2 that are easy. You got to go Genty and you got to go Travis Hunter. I guess I got to go Cam Ward right now. They're still undefeated. He's the quarterback. So yeah, those are the 3 I go with right now. I'm going to be honest, much like you, I've probably moved Genty up to my number 1 spot this week because, he's literally
Nothing, keep talking.
He's literally on a record-setting pace. But I think somebody's still going to emerge. I think, between Jalen Milroe can throw himself back in there with a couple big games. He has some marquee games down the way. Same thing with Cam Ward. If he can kind of continue to play decent football, limit some of these turnovers. So who's your 3? Go ahead. You're looking funny.
Cam Ward, Hunter, and Genty, but I think Genty, I like him as my favorite.
Yeah.
Why does Cade Klubnik have the 6th best odds to win the Heisman?
Oh, Klubnik's been playing well. I mean, and I think he's really found opportunities to use his athleticism. I think that has been, to me, this year, one of the biggest changes is you'll see him run. You see him. and yeah, I think right now I'd probably, in those 3, I probably have Cam Ward 3rd. I think last week I had him 1st. This week I would have him 3rd. But Klubnik is playing good football. He's playing smart football. He's using his legs when he needs to. Kudos. I think the young man's balling.
I'm interested to see how many yards and touchdowns Genty can get to, because even though like to me, like as a college football fan, I want him to win it, like just because it'd be something different. Like we haven't seen a running back win it since Derrick Henry. What was that? 8 years ago, or something crazy like that. And the last running back before that was Mark Ingram, and then Reggie Bush.
The hard part, and Guinea Pig Clip says it, is
he's talking about Cade Klubnik.
Oh well, let me say for Genty, it's if he racks up big numbers, the hard part is going to be that a lot of people are going to say, well, it was against Group of 5. Yeah. And Harlow just said it there. I think they will use his opponents against him. But I think what everybody has to remember is He did this against Oregon too.
And he is the current favorite to win the Heisman right now, betting odds wise.
Yeah,
He's at 225, and Hunter's at 300. Ward's at 400. Everybody else is over 1,000.
What name the next couple before you get to Clifton?
Milroe and then Dylan Gabriel.
Okay.
And then after that is Dart, Quinn Ewers, Beck, and Shedeur.
Dang. So Will Howard didn't make the list, huh?
He has the Jeremiah Smith is number 12 over him.
Now let me ask this. I think Brian Williams has to maybe get the Brian Williams has been balling. Is he not on the list? And then Bama, what's your thoughts? You think I mean
We're on here.
You're talking about a guy putting up historic numbers as a freshman. I think he should be getting some votes. He should be at least getting some consideration.
What's his stats looking like?
Now, see, this is the hard part because when you pull him up, so he
506 touchdowns.
Yeah, 544, 6 touchdowns, 19 catches, but he is 300 yards behind Trey Harris.
But he's above Jeremiah Smith. And,
yeah. Well, and I didn't mention
Jeremiah Smith's on the list. He's the highest.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Wide receiver.
I don't think you can have Jeremiah Smith without having Ryan Williams. He has literally marquee catches. I think they both do. And obviously, I'm a Jeremiah Smith guy. I think the difference is we also have Mbuka and Ennis and Tate. Ryan Williams has really separated himself from the rest of that Alabama receiving core. But I don't think you could have – I think that young man deserves votes, especially the key touchdowns. Even when you look at that Vanderbilt game, they throw it to him, big play, fourth quarter. You go to the Georgia game, big play, fourth quarter. So it's not just the catches. It's not just the numbers. It's the timing of when it's happening. The guy has been Jordan in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I'm very excited for this Ohio State-Oregon game.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie, I'm very excited for it. So we've been talking for 52 minutes now. Do you remember what you were trying to ask me, or no? You were trying to ask me something in the beginning.
Yeah, it'll come up. I'll probably remember and I'll call you.
This dude is crazy.
I'm sad. I don't remember. It was something about either Poland or I can't remember.
Over what?
Pole position.
This man thinks he's at work, bro. He said, "You say Poland?"
Polling.
Man, this dude.
Polling, not Poland.
Nah, you said Poland.
No, I did. I said polling.
Man, thought he was at a debrief.
Oh my goodness, polling. But I can't remember what it was. And I said and I'm sure as soon as I get off, it's going to come to me. It was a good question.
It's that old age getting to you, bro.
Yeah. Now listen, man, I'm a little bit older now.
It's a little bit.
Bro, you put too much on it. Now chill out. Now you're doing too much with it. You're doing too much.
That's going to wrap up episode 39 of our live shows. If you guys haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, hit the notification bell. We're going to go live. I'm trying to think how we're going to do this.
I can bring my stuff and I can just
late. Hella late on Thursday.
Well, I'm going to look about seeing if I can push that up because I got a flight. I fly into Salt Lake City, and I got a 37-minute layover.
You know, it's crazy. I looked at your flight, and I was like, "Oh, we should go to the Thursday night game because it's in Seattle, but you don't land until too late." Because I thought you were gonna have a layover there, and I was like, "Oh, I'll just pick them up from there."
Oh, but, no, I fly straight from Salt Lake City into Tri-Cities.
Yeah, so we can't even do because they play the Niners. I think that'll be a decent game to go to, and I've never been to a Thursday night game, so I think that'll be cool. But
it will be.
If anything, we'll do a recap on Sunday. After I get off work, we can do a recap. And let me see what time I work on Wednesday because we might be able to do the preview on Wednesday, actually.
Yeah. That actually worked.
Yeah, we could do Wednesday at this time on Wednesday. We could do
I don't work Thursday at all. So I'm, you know what I'm saying? So even if I got to stay up late, I guess people aren't going to watch late, but.
All right. Well, Wednesday we'll do the preview for week 7. And then we'll also do tomorrow. We'll post a video as well. We haven't posted any regular videos. We've just been doing lives every week. So we'll post a regular video tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that. Please, like I said, subscribe, like the video, comment down below what you guys want to see. We're almost at the halfway mark, and it's been a lot of chaos already.
Man,
Says so. Looking forward to this next week, and we're also probably going to record some footage at the Ohio State Oregon game. I'll probably do my best to try to do that.
yeah.
Maybe post like a vlog or something. But thank you guys so much, and we will see you guys at the next live and tomorrow's video. Peace out,
Peace
everybody.
out.